Hey guys, welcome back, and today we'll be taking a look at the Sigma 30mm f1.4 DCDN lens for Sony E-mount. This lens currently retails for about $290. It's actually a very good price for what you're getting. I actually got mine used for a little bit lower price off eBay. In the box, you're going to find some literature and the lens itself, with the lens hood and lens caps. Alrighty guys, so let's talk about the externals real quick. First off, starting with the lens hood, which it does come with. It's actually quite nice. It is plastic, however it is nice and rubberized. It does have this little ring here for grip, and it has a nice indicator of where to attach it. It attaches quite simply, just like this, with a nice satisfying click, as you can hear. And it's nice and solid. It is also ribbed on the inside and will also attach for storage the opposite way. So that's pretty nice. Moving on to the actual lens itself, the important part of course, the lens has very good build quality, especially for the price point. You can see that it's made out of metal, not cheap plastic, and it feels very solid actually. The only plastics on the lens, in fact, are the lens caps, which are also very nice. Nice high quality, easy to grip. And of course, your big rubberized focus ring, and as I said, it's rubberized, so it feels very nice in the hand. It's also extremely well damped, and it's very smooth. It does employ a focus by wire system, so it's not your traditional mechanical system. However, this is becoming more common these days, and it also works very well. It's quite responsive. As you can probably see, there also is this nice metal lens mount, which you would expect since the whole body is metal, but that prevents it from tearing off of your camera over time. Nice big glass element in there, as you can see, and you do have rounded aperture blades. So overall, the build quality of this lens is excellent. In terms of heft, it does have a little bit to it, being metal. However, it is not unbearably heavy, far from it in fact. It's actually on the lighter end of lenses. It just feels solid, but it is not heavy. It's much lighter than the camera, or actually maybe just a little bit lighter, but it's certainly not going to make your camera bulky by any means. And it's also not very large, as you can see compared to my hand. It's on the smaller side of lenses. Being f1.4 and having very good image quality, that's very impressive. As you can see there, you do get some nice markings on the front cover of the lens, giving you some nice information that might be important for you. For example, the 52mm filter thread, which allows you to attach things like this ND filter. Nice. Now, don't let the fact that this lens is from Sigma deter you, because the autofocus is actually quite good. As you can see, this features an internal focusing system, which is super nice, so the lens is not extending in and out as I focus. You can probably hear a little bit of clicking and grinding. We'll talk a little bit more about autofocus later, but that is one of the cons. But the speed and accuracy is actually very nice. Now, in terms of the actual optics, this lens is 30mm, which is a nice general focal length. However, do keep in mind that it'll be a little bit longer, actually more like 45 to 50 on a full frame equivalent, because it only fits on APS-C. 50 is actually on the long end of general purpose, so sometimes you may have trouble fitting everything in your frame. However, it's actually quite nice, because combined with that f1.4 aperture, of course, you have to take into account crop factor, but it does give you some nice shallow depth of field, allowing you to get really good background separation. This is pretty much as short as you're going to want to go for portraits, however it is still definitely usable and actually very nice for portraits, so that's a big plus. Additionally, as I said, day-to-day photography, you can definitely make it work just fine. As you can see, get some pretty nice pictures with it. Additionally, with that f1.4, you do get rounded aperture blades, allowing you to get nice smooth bokeh even if you do want to stop down. Alright, now time to take a look at our image quality. Starting with the sharpness at the center of our frame, if we zoom in to 100% here, 1:1, you can see everything is nice and sharp, straight from f1.4. If we go even farther to to 200% rather, still at f1.4 you can start to see a little bit of softness, but it's still extremely sharp in the center. Moving on to f2, you do see an increase in resolution there. f2.8 here looks about the same as f2. f4 also looks about the same. f6.3 looks similar once again. So once you get up to f2, you've basically reached peak sharpness at the center of the frame, which is basically tack sharp. If it looks soft to you, that's because this is a photo of wallpaper. So it's actually reached the limits of the resolution of the wallpaper, not actually the lens itself. Creeping back up to f8, we actually start to see a little bit of softness kick in here, which is quite interesting. Most lenses, diffraction doesn't really kick in until f11. This lens in the center starts at f8 and gets progressively worse. We're now at f11, you can see it's getting still softer, and at f16 it is very, very soft. Now let's take a look at the corners of our image. Straight from f1.4 you can see it is actually quite respectable. This is at 200%, keep that in mind. Bumping up to f2, we don't see a major increase in sharpness, however we do see an increase in brightness, which is that reduction in vignetting you're seeing. Up to f2.8 is when you begin to actually see a small increase in sharpness. You do see chromatic aberration, by the way, as you can see. It's pretty severe actually. Up to f4 here, a slight increase from f2.8 in sharpness. But here, once we get to f6.3, it suddenly jumps up. You can see it's now actually very sharp in the corners. From f4 to f6.3, it's actually a very big leap. Up to f8, it's sharper still, which is kind of odd because diffraction had kicked in for the middle of the frame, but in the corners it's actually still getting sharper. And then now at f11, I just forgot the word, my mind just totally blanked. Wow, diffraction, that's it. Diffraction begins to kick in. And f16, once again, diffraction makes it even softer. So really this lens has excellent optical qualities. Straight from f1.4, the image quality is excellent. To get perfectly sharp corners, you're going to want to go up to something like f6.3, but honestly, especially since this lens is basically for portraits, you really don't need corner sharpness to be terribly great, and it's by no means bad at f1.4. And this lens actually gets pretty much perfectly sharp in the center, beginning straight from f2. So that's the sharpness, beautiful results. Now let's take a quick look at our vignetting and distortion performance here. So as you can see from this chart, all in-camera corrections have been turned off and there is quite severe barrel distortion. It's nothing crazy, however keep in mind that this is a prime lens, so I'd expect a little bit better than this. That being said, of course, now that all editing softwares have automatic distortion correction along with in-camera corrections, this really is no big deal. This was also taken at f1.4, so you can see the corners are actually very dark. Part of that is due to the uneven shading in the bricks, but even from the paper you can see severe vignetting. So that may be a concern with some of you, but once again, that's all automatically corrected these days. And once you move up to something like f2, it's already much better. So that's a quick overview of your distortion vignetting. Certainly not impressive, but nothing deal-breaking. In terms of flaring in direct light, it's actually quite mild, and it's not bad at all. Now let's talk about autofocus, something very important. Don't let the fact that this is not a Sony lens scare you away. The autofocus is actually very good and very accurate, both in video and stills mode. It's also very fast, as you can see. However, there is a little bit of noise associated, especially in stills mode. In video mode, in most cases it'll be almost completely silent, but as you can tell, in some cases you do hear some clicking which may ruin your on-camera audio. Now if we take another look at the same video clip, we see one of the major downsides of this lens, and that's that it lacks optical image stabilization. What that means is, as you can see, video footage, handheld, is almost unusable. Panning is okay, but anything else just looks bad. And last but not least, for you video makers out there, this lens does exhibit some very minor focus breathing, but it's certainly nothing major. Alright guys, so wrapping this video up, I'd have to say that I definitely recommend this lens. It is actually pretty amazing, especially for the price. It's a super versatile lens with such a fast aperture and a nice general purpose focal length. And as you can see, the image quality is very nice and the build quality definitely matches that. You can find this lens for an excellent price on Amazon, or if you want an even better deal, you can get it used like new on eBay for an even better price. If you do decide to get it new from Amazon, then be sure to use my affiliate link down in the description below if you want to help me out. As always guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. And while you're here, be sure to check out my review of the Sony a6400 if you're in the market for an excellent new camera to put your nice lens on.